Go Pizza presents SCP. The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle and Adam Wild.
It's that part of the year where we kind of start to feel like, okay, now I'm ready. I'm ready to get back.
Man, that was me 3 weeks ago.
Well, yeah, because you were watching Auston Matthews highlights on like the August long weekend, like a maniac.
Did you see that goal he scored at a charity tournament? I'm jacked. He's going to do that to NHL goalies. Charity tournaments are just like NHL games. That's how it works. It's the same.
He's also wearing a C like he might do in the NHL.
Oh! Be still.
But not this year. Not this year. We'd like to welcome a guest to the show. Obviously, if you've downloaded it, it's probably the title of the show. You already know that he's here, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. Mr. Luke Fox, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
This huge audience that we have. We have this huge audience that are all applauding you right now. Just crazy.
Provided me with coffee, which is nice.
Yeah, well, we do our best. We want to make our guests feel welcome. Yeah. So
we're great guys.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
We're really nice.
You had an eventful day. You had a big day.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Like BioSteel Camp, which, because we're doing, I'm filling in for Jeff Blair with Ashley Dogging this week on The Fan. And we're getting like Jordan Zubin, and we talked to Devontae Smith-Pelly today, and you were talking to Tyler Seguin when he announced that he was disappointed that his extension hasn't been signed yet with Dallas.
Yeah.
That's a big moment.
Well, it was. All the reporters who were in the scrum, who weren't many, because, I understand we have like 2.5, 4 hours, so I'll tell you the story. Originally, he wasn't supposed to talk today. He was supposed to talk tomorrow.
Okay.
And then this is the conspiracy theorist in me.
Well, we're like the Alex Jones of hockey, so go on for it.
So Kipper,
just go ahead.
Kipper tweeted last night that they're at a stalemate in negotiations, the Stars and Seguin. So then the PR guy at BioSteel said, okay, he's going to talk today. He wants to talk today. All right, change of plans. These things happen. And then he came back and said, no, he's not going to. He's got a thing. And then all of a sudden he walks in and he's like, okay, yeah, he is going to. So his availability changed like 3 times over the course of an hour. And right away he was asked about his contract. And 4 times he used the word disappointed, that nothing's done. And, he answered, he kind of avoided getting into specifics, but he did say there was a conversation around the draft, but it sounded like just a very informal
and that was really
touch base conversation, and then silence. Yeah, nothing. And when you look back, at 2 summers ago, Jamie Benn, their other franchise forward, it only took him until July 16th of the summer prior to his contract year to knock it out of the park with an 8-year. I forget that
9.5 per.
It was 9.5 per. Yeah, it was.
Is it? Well,
and
that's a big one.
And that was 2 summers ago. So 9.5 at that time was huge. Even bigger, right? So I wonder if he's, him announcing in front of Sportsnet and some other networks' cameras that he's disappointed, if he's just kind of giving Jim Nill a little poke, and saying let's get things going here, or if maybe he's really a bit. Maybe he's caught some feelings and feeling a little bit bad because the Stars were all over the John Tavares. They're right there in the mix for Erik Karlsson and have been all summer, reportedly. And he's their best forward, franchise top line center, and he's not getting conversation or traction on his extension. And I wonder if maybe he's kind of like, where do I really stand here?
Where's the love here?
Where's the love?
You got a guy.
Yeah.
You got a guy. Now, in saying that, he said that it looks great on the organization that they're in the mix for these superstar players. And, you look at Dallas's track record. They went out and got Alex Radulov. Like, they don't sit on their hands in the offseason.
Yeah.
They're very aggressive. But I looked it up. I think he's played 7 playoff games since he's been there, and he's been there 5 years. And he's played 42 playoff games in just 3 years with Boston. So he's also like,
that's not his fault.
It's not his fault at all.
Their goalies were terrible.
But you got to understand how competitive these guys are, especially guys who are like right at the top. McDavid, it's still eating at him. They're Oilers last season. So there's that
on everything he says.
Yeah. So there's that element too, right? He's a competitive guy, so he wants to win. But then tack on that maybe he feels like he hasn't been getting enough respect in the negotiations room.
Well, so I wonder about that. I'm trying to figure out from Jim Nill's perspective why you would do that. And I wonder if he's kind of going, okay, I don't want to have the Seguin conversation until I figure out Tavares. Okay, we lost Tavares. I don't want to have the Seguin conversation until we figure out the Karlsson trade / extension. Because if you figure if you're going to do that trade, you're going to have to figure out an extension too. Unless, I can't see them taking on the Bobby Ryan contract, so they're going to be giving up a lot, and then they're going to have to commit to Erik Karlsson. If you give up that much, you're going to have to do that. So maybe the whole reason is that he's been trying to get these other guys, get them figured out first, because you got to deal with the biggest fire in front of you. However, isn't that a phone call you make and go, listen, Tyler, we know that you're great, and I just want you to know that we're trying to surround you with more stars. We'll pick this up.
It's the dog days of August, guys. Giddy up.
Do you not have it?
Get a move on.
Is that not what you would want from a manager? I would hope.
But there's, I don't know. It's like a cat and mouse game, right? And there's still, I think it's over 10 months until he's actually UFA. Mm-hmm. And I think Nill has a sense, and I think we all got that sense today that he does like Dallas. He loves having Jamie Benn as his winger. And I think it feels good knowing that A, they have money, B, there's that whole tax thing, which probably gets talked about a bit too much, but they have they're a stable organization, especially for a Sunbelt team. Mm-hmm. And every summer they are actively trying to make that team better. So I think he likes those signs, but yeah. It's interesting. I just love it. I love this stuff because it was around this time where we started talking about Tavares, and we're
going to have to go through that whole timeline with you.
No. but your mind automatically thinks, oh, it's hard to picture him in any other sweater, right? But
not anymore.
Once things turn, and the fact that Tavares actually went through with it, maybe he broke the mold, and maybe other guys are like, I'd like to sit in a room and have, 5 or 6 of my favorite teams or teams I think I can win with, make PowerPoint presentations. And
but maybe does it signal a change?
Well, I was thinking if you're like, forget Tyler Seguin, I think what John Tavares showed is players can control their own destiny. So if you're Jim Nill, you got to be the one sweating. You're not going to be caught in the same position. You're not going to lose him for nothing. So if you can't get something done, you're going to trade this guy. And Seguin, who loves Dallas, maybe realizes that. And I wonder if that's what's making him nervous. He doesn't want to get traded somewhere in February.
Yeah, I mean, even Ottawa's not going to make the Garth Snow mistake, right? They're going to trade Karlsson.
They might.
No. They're going to trade it. It might not be before camp. I kind of think it will, but it'll be before the deadline. They're not going to be that foolish.
If I were to cap an over-under on that, Ottawa's the team I picked to be that foolish. It is. You were going to say something, Jess, at some point, were you?
Oh, I was going to ask, do you think Dallas should be worried that Seguin's value is going to go up to start the season? Because won't it be Seguin, Ben, Radulov now on that first line?
I think it was last year.
It was last year.
Last year. Yeah, it's going to be that same first line. He scored, 40 goals last year?
I mean, they have a new coach. Maybe he wants to try a different tactic than stacking the one ridiculous power line. That was Dallas's biggest downfall, probably, was there's no depth behind those guys. If you could limit or contain or shut down that top line and shut down all the other 3 lines, then if that line scored a couple goals on you, you could still win the game. Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing is Spezza finally comes off the books. So there will be enough money to get Seguin done.
And it's going to be double digits for sure.
Oh, I would think so.
You have to. Yeah.
I would think so. He's going to be 27, right? Yeah. I think Tavares is a pretty nice comparable in terms of centerman, 27 years old.
Yeah. 8 by 11.
Top of his game. Yeah. Or maybe a little bit more. If the cap keeps going up, it's another summer. I don't know.
Damn.
The other thing, I never really feel sorry for these guys because, they're okay. They live the dream. They make tons of money.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been very far in the playoffs since he got to Dallas. And he was one of those guys that would have been a star for Team Canada in the Olympics they skipped. And that was his chance to make the Olympic team. And a year ago, I talked to him about it, and he was really bummed about that. Like, because he was just coming into his prime, and he would have made that team.
Those players that make that team, that's a good sales pitch for them. Like, that's a big marketing opportunity missed especially if your contract's expiring in a couple years, right? Like there's it's funny. It's like an all-star game that they care about. And they're playing with other all-stars, and you really get to see them fly. Even the World Cup was a great, like, when we had no idea what Auston Matthews was going to be, right? When he was playing with McDavid, though, it was like,
I was absolutely stunned.
It was like a relief, like, okay, everything's going to be okay. Because what the initial prognosis was going to be, well, it'll take him a couple years to adjust to the game.
I thought he was going to be like Anze Kopitar. Remember, I kept saying that? I'm like, he'll float around 20 goals a year, probably be a playmaker, defensively responsible. Nope. 40 goals a year.
Yeah.
Let it ride.
And that's I feel like for Seguin, this probably doesn't happen if they go to the Olympics. Like, he's probably an all-star standout at the Olympics. Probably, if he's not the top line guy, he's right behind Sidney Crosby.
And
or he plays with Sidney Crosby, whatever. They can have the whole team be centerman. It doesn't matter. I wonder if that's part of it too. If they get a little bit like that as a player, that's why I'd want to go back. Other than the ability to play for your country.
See, now you got me thinking, because the wheels are turning, because this is strange, right? It's a little bit strange that there appears to be a lack of communication.
Yes.
Seguin wants to get it done. The Stars,
and he was very he wanted to put that message out there. That's
for sure.
That's the sense I got.
Spezza coming off the books is something I had forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Are they one of the teams that could potentially finagle a little Karlsson and Ryan thing?
I would have to crunch the numbers, but I would think so. The one thing that I don't think ever gets talked about when they talk about the Ryan thing, and I agree that for Ottawa to maximize the Karlsson return, they should stop trying to tie him to it.
Yes.
Is when Bobby Ryan is healthy, he's a really good player still.
Yeah,
he's not this massive anchor, that can't play. He's actually really dynamic, and just pat up those hands and stop getting hurt.
My God! How many broken fingers was it, or something like that?
No, too many.
No, that was brutal with him. But now I'm going, okay, what if there is something in the works? Because you mentioned, so you think Karlsson's going to get traded before camp, potentially?
I think it would be in the best interest of everyone.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So if I had to make a bet, I think so. But by the same token, right, Dorian can't lose this deal. He can't look like I
don't know if he's got a choice, man.
He's the face of the franchise. He's got to, if he pulls a Joe Sakic and waits a month and a half and gets a nice return, he's got to get a first rounder plus, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the example of what to do happened to you.
Yeah.
So maybe you should wait. But it's just amazing to me that, a little over 2 weeks from now, that's all we got. And potentially this pipe bomb could go off that just turns the NHL on its head. Whoever gets Karlsson, that changes the makeup of that team's division entirely.
Yes.
Depending on who that team is.
So how do the Leafs get him?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, if Tampa gets him, they're probably already favored to win the division. Forget it. They win. They win the division. End of story. Who else in the league is a team that's already going to make the playoffs? They got Karlsson. They win their division.
Vegas, I guess.
Yeah, Vegas.
Vegas. Yeah.
I don't know.
They've been too quiet. I don't trust them. They're another team.
Low key, I thought that Stasny pickup for them was pretty good. That's not a bad pickup at all.
I thought the Tatar pickup was pretty good.
And they did. I think they only gave him 3 years.
Yeah,
Stasny. I thought it was one of the best moves on July 1.
Not a bad deal at all. And so you got the wheels turning. I think Dallas could maybe do this.
I'd like to see Spezza go back to Ottawa.
I was thinking that.
Go back. So Karlsson Spezza. So
it makes so your Bobby Ryan sense.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And then you bring back a fan favorite who people love. And Dallas is one of those teams. They're kind of like Ottawa, where they could be really good and still not make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Ottawa last year, we thought was going to be good. They thought they were going to be good. They pick up Matt Duchene, and Colorado probably hopes, one of this pickle, it'll be somewhere in the 20s, right? And next year it's going to be a lottery pick, probably.
I don't think
we'll ever see a GM not lottery protect
again.
First.
Yeah, really? Yeah. How did they not do that? But you know, that's the thing. Like, it's if I'm trading Karlsson, I want it to be to a team that at least I feel like maybe they won't make maybe they're on the cusp. Maybe some things could go south for them. Dallas didn't make did Dallas make the playoffs? No, I don't think they did. So, like, you know, obviously you would expect that if Erik Karlsson's in the lineup for Dallas, they're making the playoffs. But just in case the goaltending goes south on them again, there's a chance that pick moves up a little bit, right? You don't want to trade it to a bona fide contender and you know you're going to get the 31st pick. Like, ugh.
You just got to do what like Tampa did and be like, all right, if we win the cup, you get something else.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe in the next year's first round or something like that. I don't know.
Noted Karlsson destination Tampa.
I don't know how they're going to fit him.
I don't get it. Well, see, okay, for every team, like Dallas is a good example. I think we talk about Karlsson like if he resigns. I don't think Tampa cares. Like Tampa, if they get him, go for it, buddy. Like that's your shot to win the cup. It's like the Caps getting Shattenkirk. It didn't work out for them, but they shot their shot and ironically won it the next year. But like I couldn't blame them for that rental, and I wouldn't blame Tampa for any rental.
I just think there would be a discussion of, okay, we'll let you talk to him about re-signing, and if he agrees in principle, then maybe we'll give you a little extra. Like in order to maximize your return, I think maybe those conversations are had.
Isn't it interesting? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Ottawa would get more back from if the team knows that they're going to get him for 8 years, not one.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, yeah, you and I just think that's probably what's holding this up, though, is there are probably lots of teams that put together all these cool offers, but they don't have a will we get this guy? And you know, you maybe you look at what you're giving Ottawa, and you go, yeah, I can stomach this if he stays.
Yeah.
If he doesn't stay, can you still stomach it? And I'm sure the answer in pretty much every case so far has been no.
Right.
But what's interesting to me is this BioSteel camp, right? So it's one of these events. BioSteel camp and Smashfest kind of started around the same time, within a year or two of each other. And now there are these like almost like, how do I even say it? Like calendar moments in summer hockey for when players can release stuff and say stuff and cause a stir.
Well, they're available so little, right? They're in wherever. They're traveling. They're hanging out with their families, and
they're not big talkers
also
anyway.
Reporters kind of also after the finals or not the final, after free agency's done, they kind of peace out for a while too.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, all right, finally here's like an availability with a dozen guys. Maybe one will create some news.
Well, both of the events though, you had 2 Nylander tweets that I think were like around 1,000 retweets or something like that.
Well,
from Smash
I think it's because I got the Dangle bump.
That's a thing.
That was the Dangle bump.
I think I literally have 400 followers, so.
But then there was the Seguin thing.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting. Like there are these events that like BioSteel camp, and I didn't even know it was happening. But like next year, I want to be at that thing. Like I want to be, because I don't know, something might pop off. Seguin might say something. And is that all he said? Because you said he was like silent and awkwardly quiet after.
Well, he was asked, would you negotiate in season? And he said, I don't know. I didn't even expect to be where we are now. I expected to come to BioSteel and have some good news to share with you.
Oh, wow.
And
that's very parental.
And there was another question about, could you envision yourself, going the Tavares route and exploring to see what's on the other side of the curtain. And he's like, I just envision going to Dallas and trying my hardest. And I got 1 year there. I'm going to give it my all. And
Dallas is home.
Let's get Dallas is home. Let's win. He said he envisioned going on deep playoff runs in Dallas. And I think they've won one playoff series since he's been there. The Islanders won one playoff series in the John Tavares era.
So it was definitely Seguin's agent who tipped off Kipper to tweet that out a day before BioSteel.
Hey, it was beautifully executed.
Right.
Beautifully executed, because here we are talking about, and I'm looking at his number, 575. if we went into LTIR protection, he'd be a pretty good fourth line center for the Leafs. That's all I'm saying. Or you just put him on right D.
All right, Seguin for Levo.
There you go. Do it. Seguin, Levo. I'm done.
Put him fourth line left wing just to piss him off.
Connor McDavid, you said earlier, you mentioned this, that he seems stung.
Yes, I've talked to him twice in small scrums this summer.
And then this was
one
the
was
BioSteel,
the first one was at the Power Edge camp.
Okay.
Up at Scotiabank Arena. I don't know. It's one of the Scotiabank Pond. It's up at.
There's a few.
I was like, wait,
Scotiabank Arena.
Not that small place. That one. That's the main one.
Not the spa.
Pond. I think it's called Scotiabank Pond. Anyway,
Not spa. Yeah.
It's up at Downsview.
Yeah.
It's a small rink. And it was another, like BioSteel, it was a skills-focused mini camp with NHLers from various teams, McDavid being the de facto face of this thing. I think it was like a 3-day camp. And Dylan Larkin was there, Jack Hughes and Quinn Hughes were there. It was pretty cool watching 3-on-3. It was Scott Lawton, Connor Brown, and Connor McDavid versus Larkin and the Hughes brothers, 3-on-3 in like half ice.
Whoa.
And it's just mesmerizing. Like when no one's hitting, it's just skills, right? And they're just trying to score. And it was it's a treat. And there's like 40 people in the whole rink.
How did the Hughes boys look?
Oh man, really good.
Yeah,
really good. I mean, it's under different circumstances, right? You don't have Brooks Orpik trying to run them into the boards,
right? Take out their ankles.
It's all skills, but Jack Hughes looks really good.
Amazing.
And Alex DeBrincat said, unprompted, that he reminded him of Connor. I was like, how did he look out there? And he's like, kind of reminds me of Connor. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So Jack Hughes is
DeBrincat good?
Going to be the.
I just need to.
Yeah, that's a guy we could have drafted.
Well, anyway, I think I got this.
I was going to.
So yes, McDavid. So that was a really small scrum, and it was myself and I think Mike Zeisberger and Mike Tricos were the only ones there, if I recall correctly. And we had McDavid for a good, 8 to 10 minutes or so, just the three of us. And he just seems very intense for a guy who just came back from Europe and
should be chilled.
Yeah, well, I mean,
had some time.
They had a bad season, but his whole life, he's not accustomed to losing. All he does is win, right?
Have you seen that short clip of him coming off the ice when he was still with the Otters? And the second he crosses the threshold of the locker room, he just goes, fuck! As loud as he possibly can.
Yeah. And so I think it's like that last season really ate at him. And he said that it's basically a tie from like the worst hockey seasons of his life, or most, maybe not worst, but like most frustrating.
Probably with his first NHL season?
Would be the one where he hurt himself, right?
Yeah.
Clavicle.
Yeah.
Clavicle, yeah.
Missed 40 games.
Yeah, that one. Because the frustration with dealing with the injury, and it, essentially cost him the Calder, and this most recent one. And he's kind of like, we need to shape up. And Darnell Nurse said something interesting. He said that hunger was an issue, and it's rare to see guys admit that, which it's like it's not a skill thing there. There's still something off about the culture in that Oilers room, and McDavid's been really big on some of the veterans they brought in, like
Reader?
I asked him about Scotty Upshaw.
That was weird
not
how
so
he
much
was like jacked that, you signed him to a tryout, yeah.
And he was also jacked about Kyle Brodziak. And he's like, both the guys, he's like, these are veterans, that they work hard. We need that. We need more of that. And
that's interesting.
And it's kind of one of those things, like, unless you're there in the moment, might not be able to pick up on. But I think, yes, he's the captain, but I think he's like, I need more guys helping set an example in there. He didn't say that, but that's what I read.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it did seem to like they did sort of underperform their skill. Like, yes. I mean, they were going into last season the Vegas favorites to win the cup. Like, and it's not like they don't have the talent. It's just everything went wrong. And I wonder, I mean, does Darnell Nurse even have a deal yet?
Nope.
No.
So we're waiting on that.
Andre Sekera is injured out for like 6 months.
Yeah, months.
Something like that. He might be back at like trade deadline. Yeah, maybe.
And they just picked up somebody on a PTO from Vegas.
Jason Garrison. Which, I don't think that's going to move the needle, even if he makes the team. I don't know. Could be like a power play specialist. They need someone on the damn penalty kill.
Yeah.
And
that's why they picked up Tobias Reeder, right? That's their PK guy.
But for crying out loud, they had one of the worst, home PKs in NHL history.
Some really odd stat where it was fine.
Yeah, they were, I want to say, we talked about this at length on the show. I want to say they had the worst penalty kill at home, the best penalty kill on the road, but the home penalty kill was so bad that they were still like last or something like that.
Through about March or February, they had the worst home penalty kill in the history of the NHL tracking that stat.
Like, you might just be bad, but some of that's got to be in your head.
Well, I think it is. Nurse was asked what was one of the biggest things he learned, because he was like, I just kind of vaguely said, a lot of lessons learned. He's like, you can't believe your own hype. So I think
that's a big thing.
That's a big thing to admit, and it's like, I don't think McDavid falls into that category.
He should believe it.
Yeah,
But as a group, if you think, okay, we're going to make the playoffs, so let's conserve some energy, or we bounced out of these slumps before, but you get in a hole and forget about it.
Wow.
Were you there on Monday when he said he wants to score more goals?
I was. Yeah,
that was what I was going to bring up next.
Going next?
Oh yeah,
okay.
absolutely. Amazing.
What's terrifying about that is he's just going to. Well, if he wants to, he will.
Yeah.
This is the Crosby playbook, right?
Yeah.
Crosby sets out
every summer.
He's like, okay, I'm going to score more goals. Okay, I'm going to improve my backhand, and it's going to be ridiculous.
Yep.
Or I'm going to be amazing at faceoffs, whatever it is.
He fixed his faceoffs in one summer.
Yeah.
He was bad as a rookie. Yeah. Oh, did we? He wasn't good as a rookie and then was like never bad again.
Yeah.
It's funny. Connor McDavid in his 3 seasons has exactly 87 goals. So it's funny. It's right out of the Sidney Crosby playbook. Just throwing that out there, looking that up. He's already played 200 NHL games, 209. Can you believe that?
That's insane to me.
Like, it feels like he was just drafted, but maybe that's just me.
Well, not to bring it back to Morgan Riley, but remember, like earlier, or not to bring it back to the Leafs. Is what I meant to say.
Yeah. I don't think we're at Morgan Riley yet.
Not enough Leaf talk.
It was in my head. Don't worry.
My bad. No, but he's played like 350 games. There's 350 games. I'm all flustered at him. Jeez. Connor McDavid and the Leafs.
See, Luke, you fit right in. You know exactly when Steve's off and when to laugh. It's beautiful.
Yeah. You never have to worry about doing a bad job on our podcast. I'm always the worst one. So I'm always the worst one.
Not to bring it back to Dmitry Timashov, but do you think McDavid's going to do it? Do you think he's going to score more goals?
How'd you land on him? Sorry.
I'm not going to doubt him.
Yeah.
Well, I think where he's going to make it up is power play. The Oilers' power play was awful. I don't know how many power play points or goals he had, but I believe that's the area where you'll see him go up. The other thing he's talked about, it's very thinly veiled, is there's amount of frustration, the fact that he doesn't have solid line mates, and that it's constantly been in flux.
Sorry, I knocked the mic over. Yeah, so he never has. He never has. It's always been like, it was, what was it? The Yakpu line.
We were reminiscing about Pouliot and Yakupov.
And then what was the year they were good? Was it Eberle?
Maroon he had for
He had Maroon, right?
For a while.
Lucic was the trial.
Yeah, Lucic was that. I mean, that's why they paid Lucic all that money, because on paper they were thinking he's gonna defend him a little bit, give him a little bit more space because he's rugged. Go and get the puck, whatever. And,
it was crazy.
He has hands, or he did have hands. So
he's another guy where I'm like, all right, he's not what he used to be. I don't think he's this bad. Like, what do you get? 10 goals? No, he's better than that. Come on, he must be.
He's Connor McDavid. Weirdly, this is weird. On the power play in his career, guess how many he's had? 3 years.
Points or goals?
209 games. How many goals has he gotten over that 209 game?
18.
25.
Jesse.
21.
11.
Oh,
wow. Wow.
11 power play goals.
Three,
in 3
and 5.
seasons.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
Can you guess
I'm
the
sure he knows it's 11.
Can you guess the assists?
Probably a lot more. 30.
43.
44.
Luke's. Jesse's closest. 50.
Price is right at you.
50.
So he's feeding it.
He's feeding it. He's driving the play on that line, just based on that. And then, of course, like if I'm on reference, so you can see, that he clearly is driving the play on every line he's on. But
it makes sense. I'm sure if you're on the penalty kill and McDavid's on the ice, you're like, gotta focus.
I wonder if they that whole Lucic trade thing kind of died off. Like it's almost like it didn't happen because that was close. It seemed like it was close. It seemed like they talked to his agent that they were ready to go. Was it that they couldn't find a taker, or was it they couldn't find the return they were looking for?
I think takers would be hard unless they retain salary.
Right, and they don't want to do that.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. Mm-hmm. And maybe they're just like, let's give it one more year. I mean, look at Troy Brouwer, right? He got a couple chances before getting bought out. Maybe it's one of those, like, let's just try one more year, put the screws to him and say, look, you need to have a good summer. You need to gain a step. I don't know.
Dustin Brown was an example of that going right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It can turn around.
Yeah.
Dustin Brown it
Wasn't playing.
blew my mind that he did what he did.
But how much is that?
Killing people.
How much
in
of that
pools.
is the coach, though? Like, I mean, that took a coach change, and then Stevens comes in last year and completely changes the way LA plays, and all of a sudden, Dustin Brown's a top 6 guy again.
Well, and ice time too, right?
Yeah.
Line mates. But Lucic kind of had his shot. Does he get another shot? I don't know. I mean, I think the Oilers will make some adjustments system-wise. I know Todd McClellan's still there, but they gutted the assistants and made a ton of changes there. And Glenn Gulletson was talking about how they want to be faster, and he's got some ideas already for how they can adjust.
Glenn Gulletson's going to bring it against the Flames, like big time, eh? Like he's just going to make those guys pay for. That's a guy that I felt, as much as he seems just bitterly morose every time he does a scrum. Like just
I like his scrums.
He just seems upset. Like what
Also great for reporting.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think they're great for his players.
He's like they're like, I hate this. I hate everything about this. And yet I feel like now when he goes into Calgary, like I feel like the Flames should kind of watch out. Like they hung him out to dry. They're the reason he's not a head coach anymore. I don't think Glenn Gulletson's the reason he's not a head coach anymore.
Well, what I do like is that Trey Living didn't just fire the coach; he also changed the players. Right?
Yeah.
The Dougie Hamilton move. It wasn't like the token, let's throw the coach under the bus and blame him for all our problems.
Now, would you trade a top 5 right-handed shot defenseman in the league because he didn't join your team at Moxie's? Or is that
the museum?
The museum.
Oh, the museum.
Thing.
Well, he went to the museum.
He went to the museum. You're
Because
right.
they
Yeah,
didn't
sorry,
go to
sorry.
because now
Top 5.
right-handed shot D in the league.
I wasn't going to focus on that, Jesse.
I think he might be one of the best right-handed shot defensemen in the league. Like I don't know.
Would you trade him for Panarin? Or would that now be the worst trade?
So can we ask Luke about this?
About what?
About your trade being the worst trade
I
in history.
think my theory is this: since the 1-for-1 day, and we all know the 1-for-1 day, Subban and Hall and all that. Since that day, the worst trade in the league has been Panarin for Saad.
Like no.
100% the worst trade. Name a worse trade.
Duchesne for to Ottawa.
Yeah, but there was some reason behind that. The Panarin Panarin is
fans are going to curse you up.
No,
again,
Sorry,
trade.
Luke. So what do you think?
That is a horrible trade.
Thank you. It's terrible. Now, okay, fine. I can give you Karlsson. Maybe it's not Karlsson.
Duchesne, yeah.
Duchesne. Maybe Duchesne's worse. Maybe Duchesne's worse. That first round pick makes it really bad. You're right. Second worst trade.
Well, wait. So you're saying Ottawa really blew it because of the first rounder?
Well, I think they blew it because
Matt Duchesne, like, he had a really slow start, but he actually played quite well for Ottawa.
Yeah, so maybe
the first round screws everything.
Kyle Turris was awful in the playoffs for Nashville.
Yeah.
And I like Kyle Turris, and at the time I thought they were,
pretty even.
But seeing him in that Winnipeg series, I mean, I didn't see him in the Winnipeg series. He was a ghost. He was really exposed. And I was surprised because he looked good the previous postseason. So,
and he had such a hot start.
It could have been hard too.
I think he has a lot to prove this year.
First, man. That first is what does it for me.
Yeah. Well, it depends what happens.
But if Ottawa wins,
if that first is Jack Hughes, then
if Ottawa's winning, I don't think that's a conversation, right?
Oh no,
and I don't think that's the reason they lost either. I think Panarin leaving the Blackhawks had a noticeable effect on that team instantaneously.
You have a guy that plays so good with one of the most skilled players in the world. Why mess with that Panarin,
especially when
Kane chemistry? Well, that's the thing. I think they got. I think maybe Stan Bowman was almost too smart for his own good, kind of thinking too far ahead and thinking we're not going to be able to afford him. So maybe we should sell him now when maybe you could have got one more year out of him.
I mean, that's my thing, and I understand that they love Brandon Saad. There's there's cost control there. There's
and they
a
wanted to
history
get Taves going. That's the other thing. And Taves, who knows? Maybe he went and said, "You know who I really like playing with."
Well, that's what we heard.
Yeah.
That was actually the rumor was that it was a Taves and Kane had a meeting with Stan Bowman after the season. That's what we heard. Whether that happened or not, who knows? So, I mean, I'm sure we'd have to ask Mark Lazarus or something like that. But it's a
like worse than like Rasfer Raycroft or.
Worse than Rasper Raycroft.
Probably was.
The Leafs were already bad, though. See, the Hawks were at least a playoff team.
Wow. So yes, then. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I think it's. No, I'm going to stick with my point.
Adam might have taken a little flack for this take.
Well, and it also was posted on one of the most popular Blackhawks blogs. So there was Blackhawks fans. Not only were they coming back and saying disagreeing, well, it's not the worst trade. They would come back and try to explain why it was a great trade.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Like, you know.
It's a little far.
Yeah. It was they also got Anton Forsberg, who was not in the lineup when Corey Crawford went down. Like, come on.
Auston Matthews' favorite goalie?
Yeah, really.
I remember the overtime game. Yes, that's right. That one regular season game.
Hjalmarsson that same summer, too.
Oh, and I wanted him to go to the Leafs so bad.
Yeah.
Wanted him here.
I just had one of those summers where they let a playoff series ruin their whole damn team.
Yeah, and they ticked off their head coach at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was the Hjalmarsson thing that made him storm out of the meetings, right?
It was the draft, and Chicago was hosting the draft, and it was draft day. I think it was the Friday day before the actual thing, and he left angry.
If you're Connor Murphy,
and like how many times do you get to host the draft? Like, well, maybe Chicago gets it a lot, but most
how many outdoor games do you
draft outdoors? Every year.
Have you seen their New Jersey?
Oh my God! Yeah, I want to talk to a Chicago fan that's got all the outdoor jerseys. There's probably fans that have been to every outdoor game.
It's just like
they live in a porta potty.
Yeah,
it's a slight tweak on the logo. Ooh, this time it's black and white.
Whoa! Wow!
This is way better than the white and black one.
So another event that happened today that I know you were not at, but Eric Engels did a huge write-up on it at sportsnet.ca.
Oh, Pacioretty. Right?
Yeah. So Molson and Bergevin showed up at his golf tournament, and it's funny because Pacioretty said, listen, this was sort of thrown together last minute because we really weren't sure. We really weren't sure if something was going to happen. He actually said that in the scrum, and he said obviously there's been no negotiations, that he's going to go into camp and handle things the way he normally handles things. However, we know they had a deal worked out with Los Angeles, and it fell through because he couldn't get the extension signed. What do you think happens with Max Pacioretty? Is that a preseason trade as well, or is that a guy that they have to go, okay, play the first 3 months with them, and then some team needs scoring, probably LA, even though they got Kovalchuk, or maybe San Jose, who swung and missed on both Kovalchuk and Tavares. I still think Karlsson might end up there. Imagine him and Brent Burns, and what if? Which do you think is more likely for him?
I think much like Karlsson, it would be better settled down, but I think Bergevin is more likely to hold on in hopes that Pacioretty lights it up for a month, because his trade value couldn't be any lower than it is right now. He's coming off his worst season in, I don't know, maybe ever, years. I think he had 5 30-goal seasons in a row before.
And 17.
Yeah. So his value's low, and when you think of comparables, you look at Jeff Skinner and what the return Carolina got from Buffalo on Skinner was not good.
Not great.
And I think if Bergevin blows another trade with a star player, like the one he did with PK, and then also I'm not a fan of the Drouin deal, giving up Sergachev.
Oh, no.
Like exactly the kind of player they need.
Yeah.
Right
So if he does another one, it's like his job is probably on the line. Whereas I think
the job security of Mark Bergevin? No
way. He's got naked pictures of Jeff Molson somewhere.
Is just like,
I'm going to get fired before Mark Bergevin.
No.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he can't lose another trade, like obviously the way he's lost the previous two. So I think as much as he knows things are tense, maybe play it out and see if Pacioretty can't, come out of the gates and look like a 30-goal scorer again. And maybe Pacioretty needs to be a little bit inspired to step it up and say, I'm going to play my way out of this mess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, okay.
They're one of those damn teams. I think they're going to just capture magic out of the gate. I think they're going to have a hot start. Yeah.
No.
They're one of those
Then don't believe in fall off a cliff. There's no way. They're not a good team.
When's Shea Weber coming back?
That has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. December?
Yeah.
Like mid-December.
Mid-December, yeah.
And he's like 33.
Like, look at their defense.
I forgot about that.
Look at their center depth chart.
Who is their center?
Adam?
Yeah. Like, is it going to be... They talked about Max Domi, maybe?
Well, I asked Max, and he's like, I don't know where they're going to put me. He said, I can play wing, I can play center, and he's like, I can even play a little defense. I'm just like, he's making a joke, but at the same point, it's like,
Yeah, Carey Price. That's hilarious, Max. So,
I'm sitting there. I'm getting ideas.
That's an amazing idea. I will use that. Oh my god.
No, I wonder. Okay, this is going to be crazy, but if you're
Sod for Domi,
Sod for Panarin. No, if you did. See, Ottawa's in a tough situation, too, with a couple other players. Obviously, Mark Stone and Matt Duchene. And Matt Duchene, everybody's like, well, you can't trade him because you'll never get the return that you spend for him. You're a big proponent of that.
No, and he was good.
He was good.
Yeah.
But if you can...
a guy who's playing well.
And he's that rare player who, wanted to come there. Like, at the time, he was like, yes.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
And you know what? He was having a blast at the outdoor game. This is pre-Melnick's speech, but I remember he was at the family skate with his girlfriend, like hanging out with all the fans, posing for photos. Like, he looked like he enjoyed being there.
Well, I wonder if because Ottawa in the right mind can't sign him unless they want to sign him and keep him. But I wonder if there's a deal to be done where, i.e., what maybe not as sneaky as what Doug Wilson did to Pierre Dorion earlier this year, but if you can flip. If you're Montreal and you can somehow figure out a way to get Matt Duchene, who they've been trying to get for years, off of Ottawa, and maybe it's a Pacioretty and a three-way or something. Like maybe they work a three-way deal out, which has not worked out for Ottawa in the past. But, is there a way where, and I don't know who the other team would be, Montreal ends up with Matt Duchene, the center they need desperately, and then all of a sudden now we're talking. Now that's a team where I'm like, okay, they're a threat again, because then you can put Drouin and Domi and whoever else you got on the wings, and then somebody picks up Max Pacioretty because who doesn't need a 35 goal scorer, and then Ottawa ends up with picks and prospects and everybody's happy. If you can work that out.
The thing that was in my head, but I wouldn't let tumble out of it, but why not? Here it goes. Seguin to Montreal.
Get out.
And maybe Pacioretty. Maybe Pacioretty goes to Dallas.
I believe Seguin has some trade protection in the last year.
Modified.
Yeah, he's not
going there.
He just said how much he wants to win.
Yeah.
So,
man, I wonder if Montreal
thinks they can win.
He would have fun in that town.
I think so.
Yeah.
Would you have given up on Galchenyuk? Do you think it was time?
I think it was time.
Yeah?
I think it was time. I think things had soured to a point. I didn't know too much about the Domi situation in Arizona, but it seemed like let's both just swap our problems.
Yeah.
I don't think, and I don't want it to come across as Domi was a problem, but it was like there was a bad fit there. And,
I've heard headache rumors.
So it's kind of like, let's just, both get fresh, clean slates and see if things can't work out.
Okay. Because I always look back and go, like, hey, there's the center you could have had if you had groomed him that way.
The weird thing is that all the coaches in the gym, they were like, he's not a center. He's not a center. Instead of, we want to make him, instead of being positive and saying, we think he can be a center. He needs to work on this. Let's do this. It seemed like they had already made up their mind.
I just hated that person.
Also,
they just really didn't like him.
Let's not pretend that Michel Therrien, being the coach of that team for that long, didn't have a harmful effect. When Marc Bergevin took over that team, he had PK, Max Pacioretty, and Carey Price all entering their prime. But he had a coach who, everything we've heard about Michel Therrien has been negative. Everything. And that's not just because they didn't win while he was there. They did win. They had a lot of skill. They actually were up. They won.
He's not a player's coach.
They won the division 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that long ago that they were the top team in the division where Tampa missed and the Leafs squeaked in. So this is a guy, I feel like the Michel Therrien era had a really negative effect on some of the players that they had. I don't think PK gets traded if Michel Therrien's not the coach. If Michel Therrien's not in Marc Bergevin's ear every day going, trade him, I don't think that happens. And then you're looking at a completely different franchise on a completely different trajectory. And I think that we'll look back in 10 years and go, that was one of the most disastrous 3-4 year spans in a storied franchise with very little blemish.
And we're Leafs fans.
Yeah, and we can. Everything's been a disaster for us.
Yeah.
So
the thing is, build from the net out. You have the arguably the best goalie in the world, and you have one of the best up and coming rising defensemen in the world. And it's like, let's build around this. And somehow it fell to pieces. And I just look at the Weber contract and even the Carey Price. Like, I like Carey Price, but just
do you like him at $10 million?
Exactly.
Starting now?
Well, any goalie at $10 million. Starting now.
It's too much.
With injury issues. So those two deals could hamper them for a long time.
And really, Bergevin put himself into that corner. If they were a better team, and we always say this, if you have to pay more for your star players when you're a bad team or you're a cusp team. When you're a good team, you actually end up paying less because everybody wants to keep the good team together. Look at Tampa, right?
Yeah.
Toronto's
Connor Brown took a...
Connor Brown is, John Tavares is a great example. Auston Matthews might be as well. But then you look at Edmonton, pretty thin. Had to pay Connor McDavid what they had to pay him. Probably shouldn't have paid Leon Draisaitl what they did end up paying him.
Well, in Tampa, I just keep fawning over them. Everybody took a discount. Almost everybody. Mm-hmm. Stamkos is unbelievable. Isn't he under 9?
Well, and he set the tone, right?
Yeah.
And that's what Dubas is probably hoping Tavares just did, right? Mm-hmm. He set the tone, and then Hedman quickly went just a shade under, and then Kucherov basically worked for free for a couple of years.
That contract.
But Alex Killorn got his payday for some reason. I don't figure that one out.
Stamkos at 8.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Kucherov this season will make 4.7.
But he signed
his
extension.
deal doesn't kick in until next year when he makes 9.5, and Hedman's at 7.8.
Yeah.
So, very
and then
nice,
Vasilevsky was also really cheap when he re-signed.
3.5.
Yeah.
You know what? I was about to say
for one of the best goalies.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I was about to say Hedman wasn't as much of a discount as Stamkos. No, yeah, he was.
No,
Karlsson's about to get 11 or 12. I think Hedman's that. Mm-hmm. Hedman's close to that. He's at least a $10 million defenseman.
It's so funny. I see.
He's the reigning Norris Trophy winner.
Yeah.
He is literally the best defenseman in the NHL
right now.
by the standards of the trophy that hands out for the best defenseman in the
writers
NHL.
like me who vote on this thing.
It's funny. There are a lot of people. Every time Hedman comes to town, though, you'll get people in the stats community. They'll actually say, "Well, he's not as good as everybody says he is."
Oh man,
and I'm like, I don't. Yeah, that's one guy that's come up.
They defended him.
I don't think so. That
well, maybe is that part of the wars?
I don't know. I don't even know how to calculate war, so I wouldn't know. But it's interesting that they.
I'm on Team Hedman. I think he's
Team Hedman.
Yeah,
I am too. And I'm like, am I dumb? Am I missing something here? He seems pretty great to me.
He's pretty sick.
And they were winning.
Do you have a vote?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You got my number one.
You got your vote?
Did you release your votes?
Yeah.
Do you know what
have to.
position every player plays?
Well, this is yeah. They send us reminders.
Good reference.
Oh, just to make
Where does
sure.
Alex Ovechkin play go? No,
Well,
okay.
it was like
Center Mitch Marner, according to the NHL account.
Giroux, right?
Yeah.
Switch positions. Like there's a couple tricky ones.
Did you vote for Auston Matthews for anything?
This is the first year that they were released. We voted on whether to release the votes, and that passed. So
What side were you on?
I'm pro reveal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, the baseball writers do it, and I feel like it's not that big of a deal. And if it's public, you should be able to defend your position anyway. You should
Fair
have
enough.
you should have a reason. So
100%.
And then I don't think anyone read it, but I wrote an article defending my ballot the morning after, the day after it got released. So it's out there.
That's why I asked you about the positions. You know, that's
Yeah,
very
the positions
sort of
are correct.
kind of
I
a thing.
triple checked. But I honestly, it's like one of the funnest things about my job is like, I think it's 3 years now. I've actually got a vote, and
That's awesome.
That's
yeah,
pretty cool.
because I
man.
mean, like politically, you get a vote, but you're one of,
200 something.
like hundreds of thousands, right? But in this, there's, your vote actually has a little bit more sway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, how many people are in the PWHA? It's not
Oh,
200?
or PHWA.
I should know.
150? It's not a ton.
It's hundreds,
It's
low
amazing.
hundreds. Yeah.
Wow. We've sort of referenced it, so let's get to it. Auston Matthews' next contract. He said, and it wasn't at Biosty, it was the other tournament. So there's been a lot of events lately that we're referencing here. But the was it the TJ
US showcase?
Yeah,
thing? Yeah. Sunday.
He said, listen, I'm open to signing a contract whenever. I know they're talking. What's your set? Because the Leafs are still hard to get anything out of, and I imagine they'll remain so, although now they actually released the figures, so we can update cap friendly a lot easier. But from your sense of things, you cover the team very closely. How do you think the Nylander Matthews thing is going to roll out, and how quickly are we going to have an answer on both of those guys?
I think Nylander is the kind of guy that it might go down to the wire for when camp opens. But I think both of them want, and Dubas has always said, like, he seemed to pick that up from Lou, like that whole, if you have time, use it. So Dubas is preaching patience. So I think it's just kind of a staring contest until they get to right before camp. I don't think either side really wants, especially the Leafs, want that to be the story at camp. Nylander's not here.
Should be that Tavares
I
is
think
here.
it should be Tavares is here, and yeah.
That's a great point.
So
I hadn't
I
thought of that.
If it's, but I like I said before, I think the Leafs are going to really go for, let's all take a little bit less here, guys, and get all three of you re-signed, and like let's have a dynasty here. Let's win one cup first. I don't mean a cup dynasty. I mean like a long stretch, a long window where you can contend.
You can't guarantee championships, but you can guarantee yourself
No, just
a pretty good shot.
You
Yeah.
can
Year after
guarantee
year.
relevancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'd say like the Sharks have had a pretty sweet deal over the past like decade when they've had, a few runs at the third round, Stanley
Yeah.
Cup final. Can you look at what the Sharks have done over the last 10 years and been like, they screwed up? No, they were in it. And they've been in it for a decade.
And made the finals and
Maybe
just
more.
didn't work.
So that was Logan Couture's pitch to Tavares. Is like,
We're there.
Look, exactly what you said. We're always in the mix. You're never in the playoffs. Come over here. We're always in the playoffs. We're always ready for a little bit of a run. And that's why Couture signed instantly with the Sharks. I asked him, like, because he's another center that's going to be in the Seguin class, right? Or was going to be.
Yeah.
And I said,
More.
were you, like, look at what Tavares just did. Look how much money he got. Were you at least tempted? And he's like, no, look at my team. We're always in the mix.
This
And,
was,
and he's like, and we have a lot of fun. Like, they live in San Jose, and
yeah.
Joe Thornton's, making PG-13 jokes, I'm sure, and snapping towels.
Man,
Walking the streets, just shirtless with a giant beard. That picture of him and Burns is so ridiculous. I love it. He seems like he really lives the life out there.
do you do the Nylander deal first? Do you get that signed? Like, do you think do you have kind of like a wink agreement with Matthews?
That's the maybe. And
Like, we know what we're gonna do. We just have to get Nylander done first.
maybe. I think it would be weird. Like, we're so late in the summer now it might feel a little weird if you come out with a big Matthews press release and Nylander's sitting there.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I keep having this fantasy that even though we've heard zero reports to suggest this, Dubas is just going to come out, just slam dunk. Guess what? Here's 8-year deals for Matthews, Nylander, and Marner.
Not Marner.
Goodbye. Can you imagine?
Marner waits.
Yeah.
Marner's going to wait because he should wait. But imagine. Bam. Just one day.
Be the ultimate PR coup. And
here's these 3 contracts. Don't bug me for another 8 years.
You could get Matthews. Like, that's what Chicago did with Taves and Kane. It was same day, same press release, I think.
But they were making the same amount of money, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's going to be a $4 or $5 million discrepancy.
There's going to be.
Well, and I think there's going to be a year's discrepancy, too.
Yeah.
So you think 6 for Nylander?
5, 6.
Yeah, CJ came on and kind of convinced us last episode that 5, 6 actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and I think it might be good for him. I look at Dylan Larkin, and he's a guy who did successfully make the jump from wing to center, which was kind of the thinking for Nylander until the Tavares signing, that with Bozak gone, maybe Nylander would have to be a center. But Larkin, kills penalties. He was the team's leading scorer. He kind of did everything. And he took 5, and he's going to be a UFA at age 27. Same as someone else, right?
Going to make a big old pile of money.
So maybe Nylander goes for kind of like the double dip, like a pretty good one now and a really good one at age 27 when presumably his points go up or at least maintain. And if you're playing with Matthews for 5 years,
that's pretty good.
Your resume might look pretty good.
Well, and you're beloved, right? Because you're just killing it, and people look at your number and they go, "Great."
And Leafs could always say, like, at year 4 of that deal, all right, let's talk extension, let's get this done, right?
Yeah.
and because the cap will be up.
I liked Kadri.
Well, that's
anyway,
the other thing. Cap goes up 4 years, 5 times, whatever.
Well, it's probably 10. I would say 10 million every 3.5 years, right?
Yeah.
Because 3 years ago it was 71, 72, and we're at 79 now.
It was 69 once upon a time, I think.
It was nice.
Easy.
No, I just wanted
Easy.
to. Yeah. With Nylander, I like Kadri anyway, but now that he's making 4.5, I like him a little bit more. If he's making 8, I don't think I like him as much.
Those are really good deals.
Whoa.
That off season when they got Riley and Kadri extensions done, those are really nice numbers. Like
real nice.
Lou did a little bit of nice work in his short.
Yeah. There were some questionable moves, but it also they did nothing. Assuming Nikita
Those were
Zaitsev
contract extensions though, which kind of sneak under the radar because they're guys that are already there.
Yeah, but
those were great.
You can mess those up.
You sure can.
Mark Stone, right? Like,
that was. We're just gonna keep. I know.
I don't want to rag. I don't want to rag on.
No, but
we don't have a choice. We have to talk about it.
They did it to themselves.
Exactly.
Their 3 best players are all expiring. What do you want us to talk about? Craig Anderson's gonna have a bounce
and their
back
number
here.
1 goalie wants out, right?
Yep.
So has he said that?
So
report.
this is the latest I heard because he's also American. So he was at that thing Sunday, and don't quote me on this because I haven't watched the video, but I heard through someone that basically he said, "I'm too old for drama, and until they clear that, if they clear that up, I love Ottawa, my family loves the area, I love playing for them, but I'm too old for this drama." So I that leads me to believe that there is some drama that's unsettled still, and it's like a sickness, right? That's spreading. And Mark Stone, I asked him, I don't know, it was maybe a month left in the season about re-signing. And he said, I want to be part of the solution here, not part of the problem. And now he's down to 1 more year.
So, okay. It's
like everyone's kind of like, and then if Karlsson does get traded, then, you lose hope. Yeah. Like if you're in a room and your captain and best player and one of like this ungodly hockey talent leaves, it's discouraging.
See, you know what? It is discouraging, but part of me is a little heartened by that, and I'm hanging on to hope if I'm a Sens fan, because if Melnyk leaves, if they finally get rid of him, I think all those dominoes start to fall in your favor. Karlsson extends his contract, then Stone, then it's easy to convince Shane.
But a buy takes 2 years, man.
Sorry?
Those buys take like 2 years. They're not going to get him out before Karlsson's deal's up.
Well, then they're boned.
Because they take
they're boned.
Those things sit in escrow for like 9 months.
Yeah. It's not like players. You don't just sell a team.
Right.
Yeah.
We have acquired.
Like even buying a house takes 4 or 5 months, right? You know, this is a multi-million-dollar franchise.
I need you adults to explain that to me. Man, come on, I'm just in it for the hockey.
Isn't Melnick expiring soon?
Yeah. His contract's up.
Yeah. Exactly.
Grown-ups to explain that to me.
On the flip side, I think Brady Tkachuk was an awesome draft pick.
Yeah. People.
I do.
I'm a little weird. I'm weirded out that they didn't pick Zadina, though. I have to tell you, when he's available.
Yeah, he looks pretty sick, too. But there's something. What is it about Brady Tkachuk that makes you think it was a great pick? Because I think you and I might be thinking the same thing.
I think there's so few like Brady, like Matthew, like Wayne Simmons, like, you know, Wayne's not so much a pest, but just like nasty. Like, you know, the stereotypical hate to play against him, but you love having him on your team.
Like Brendan Gallagher a little bit?
Yes. Yeah, a little bit of that.
Maybe premium.
But he's bigger.
Right.
Yeah.
That wasn't what I was thinking. It's a great point. What I was thinking is like he seems like happy about life. He just seems like an extremely confident guy.
Oh, he is. He is.
I feel like Ottawa needs that so damn bad, and they should probably keep him away from the team this year.
Yeah.
But I feel like he could, if he comes into the Sens, starts all right, I think he infects that team and starts to take it over.
Well, and you also have to sell hope to your fan base, right?
Yes.
So you need, and it's a familiar name, right? And you know, we'll see. Like maybe Thomas Chabot takes some huge steps. Like the prospect pool isn't bad there.
It's improved.
Yeah,
I'm not as convinced. Like Belleville is that's a rough sell to me. Like just what they have there. But no, you're right. They have guys and junior guys they just drafted. Whatever. Yeah, Brady Tkachuk, I like that pick.
If he goes to London and lights it up for a year, it's only looking better, right?
Yeah, it's like what Marner did, right?
Yeah.
Go to the World Juniors. It's basically a big Sens billboard the whole time.
Yeah.
And then
that'll be fun.
Clear the decks. Try to get some guys around him that are going to be in his age range. I don't even think it makes a lot of sense to extend Mark Stone, to be honest with you, because he's going to be 27. He's going to be a UFA, so you're buying UFA years. Trade him, get something for him, because you can. You could get something pretty good for him, I would think.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So go and then that's it's like, you know, the Leafs got a little lucky, right? They won the Auston Matthews lottery.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, they also stripped it back and said, we're going to have a bunch of kids in this age range within this 3 or 4 year period that are going to be great together. If I'm Ottawa, that's what I'm looking to do. And all those guys will be super cheap. So Eugene can save some money, put it away, and then sign their extensions when he needs to.
If the Sens sell everyone at this year's deadline, they might give up the first overall pick, but then have the remaining 30 picks of the first round and just be totally fine.
Yeah.
Like they'll probably get a couple first rounders at least for Karlsson.
For like each of those guys, man. Like Duchesne, Stone, and Karlsson. Imagine.
They could be really good in like 3 years if they just committed to just eliminating
And they'd have to find a goalie. They'd have to find a goalie in 3 years.
Find that.
I think Chicago got a first for Ryan Hartman.
They did. They did from a divisional rival.
And Ryan Hartman was a healthy scratch in some playoff games.
Yeah, there were two guys traded for first round picks at last year's deadline that were healthy scratches in the playoffs. It was Hartman and Thomas Tatar.
I even thought the price.
Yes, Tatar.
I thought the price that Boston paid for Rick Nash was insane.
At least he was good.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah. Even a second for Plekanec is a lot.
That was a lot.
Sure
and
was.
If the Leafs win that series, we go, great, worth it.
And he was one of the better players.
He was, but he took a while to become that, right?
In the series, he was great.
Yeah.
But other than that, he was pretty bad.
And right now we have nothing to show for him.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know. He's a center for a divisional rival. That's what we have.
Oh, perfect.
So, that's great. That's pretty great.
What do you think the gap in talent or effectiveness between Dominic Moore and Thomas Plekanec was?
0. Absolutely nothing.
I don't know about 0, but I liked Moore played 2 games in the playoffs or whatever. He looked great in both of them. I never had a problem with Dominic Moore, man.
Yeah, me neither. That's kind of the point I was getting at.
Babcock did from camp.
Yeah.
Babcock never wanted this player. Eric Fair played the season opener in Winnipeg. He never wanted this player.
Eric Fair played well in San Jose when he was traded there.
I don't think if it wasn't,
he did play playoff games.
Yes.
he did. If it wasn't due to cap restrictions because they had to bring back Roman Polak, I think Fair would have been the fourth line center all year last year.
Well, no, they could have just not signed Dominic Moore and they'd have been fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Or let him play.
Or let him play, yeah. But I mean, like, if you wanted to have, you had your fourth line center. Eric Fair was the guy.
Yeah.
That was perplexing to me. I didn't understand. He's making $2.5 million. You can't fit that in? Come on.
I like Babcock as a coach, but man, when he makes up his mind that you're garbage, you're out. It's really hard to convince him otherwise.
And
man.
it's funny going into, and we got to ask about this because, like, literally, Dominic Moore seems like the perfect guy to bring in to fight off or fight with Per Lindholm, with that for that fourth line job, right? That's a job that you're going to play 5 to 7 minutes a game, if we're being honest. Maybe get some penalty kill time, hopefully. And Mike Babcock said, this is the guy. We think this is the guy. And Miro Alton maybe could have given him a little bit, but are you surprised they haven't PTO'd anybody else and said, like, let's at least give this guy some competition? We've never seen him on North American ice.
Yeah, a little bit, because Babcock likes internal competition, especially in those fringe spots. So yeah, I guess a little bit surprised. But the other thing is, who's out there?
Nick Shore. Nick Shore is the guy that keeps coming out.
You're right. Yeah.
But like that's it. And maybe they already signed their guy, Josh Juris.
Yeah.
Ennis maybe could play some center. I don't know. He has in the past.
In the past, for sure.
So
I mean, like, what hit? Like, I know it's not a disaster if he comes into camp and can't play. I get that. I know it's not a big deal. Who cares? But what happens if one of those guys goes down? Is Patrick Marleau flipping to center, or is William Nylander flipping to center? I think Patrick Marleau would be a good guy on a third line center role. I actually do. He played quite well at center last year. He just doesn't want to play it.
The hypothetical
injury.
If Kadri, Matthews, or Tavares goes down.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, that problem solved.
Yeah. No, I know. But if there was an injury, that's this. And I know, I know that that's a what if, and that's basically a who the hell knows. But don't you have to sort of plan for that?
Yes, but like you can't always have, one or two.
I know it's not NHL team.
Everyone,
Always have the backup.
That's
But PTO a guy, whatever. Who cares?
wow, and you got to think. I mean, I don't have him in front of me, but maybe a Marley, rises the way. Like no one was talking about Andreas Janssen at this time last year, right? Like there could be some internal growth as well.
Hopefully, Adam Brooks.
It's like,
I don't know.
The Leafs, I'm bringing it back to food because I'm a little hungry. Make sure dinner is on your plate. And the Leafs have dinner. Matthews, Kadri, that John guy, and Lindholm, whatever, he's the piece. Having a fifth or sixth guy, like that's dessert.
Yeah.
And if you don't have dessert, you'll live. You're fine. You got your nutrition.
You're leaner if you don't have dessert, in fact.
Under the salary cap? No, I'm fitting a little tight under the salary cap right now. Maybe I should stop with the desserts. If you don't get Nick Shore, that's all right. You have dinner. Nick Shore is ice cream.
I also think the conversation is just a little ridiculous because dinner hasn't even been cooked yet. And I don't even think we've decided on what we're having.
No, it's in the fridge.
It's in the
It's in the fridge.
But we're still at work.
Yeah. If we're under contract, they're in
We're
the fridge.
texting our partner going, hey, what's for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
What should we do?
Let's play a game at least.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's get to the fridge.
okay.
I think defrosting is camp.
Then, Luke, are you of the Mike Babcock,
This works.
Kyle Dubas party, which says the Leafs defense can be good enough? The Leafs team defense, if they decide to play it this year, can be good enough the way it is? Or are you of the camp that says, they're going to probably have to make a move?
I think they're going to be good enough to be a great regular season team, and that's fine. And then I think they'll make a move at the deadline. That's kind of what I'm thinking in the back of my head, unless something great pops up earlier. I mean, even Washington went and got Michael Kempney, and people kind of shrugged. Like,
That was a great pickup.
but he was very valuable in their playoff run. He played an important role. So that's the kind of move maybe they make, and then maybe a guy becomes available that we don't even know yet. I mentioned this somewhere else, but like who would have predicted the Rangers would all of a sudden have a massive fire sale and Ryan McDonough would be available a year prior to him hitting free agency, right?
This
and
past year's trade deadline was great.
Yeah, and then Tampa sweeps in and picks him up. Like we don't know who's going to be available besides Erik Karlsson, and that's not happening. So
we don't know which team is going to randomly implode.
Yeah, because it happens every year, or there's some sort of dispute and a guy you didn't expect becomes available. So I think they're fine enough and they're going to score a lot that they can, be in the hunt for that.
It's kind of like the Red Sox, just outscore the problem.
Yeah.
They don't have any relievers, but hey, let's outscore the problem.
Yep.
Be in the Atlantic, division, top race and then see what shakes out at that time. I've always thought, Chris Tanev would be a great addition. And Vancouver has to figure out at some point if he wants to stay long term or if he wants to get out of there while they're
I hope they sign him to a long-term deal, preferably 4 years at $3 million per, like everybody else they sign.
They have to figure it out. Counterpoint, no, they don't. It's Vancouver. They don't have to figure out a damn thing.
Their asking price has got to be sky high for him.
Yeah. Well, apparently it was sky high for Goodbranson as well.
Well, and
I'm so glad the Leafs didn't do
there
that.
was just
God.
There was no righties available. There was.
But then you don't make the move.
Yeah.
Then you don't do it.
Yeah, but they didn't.
They didn't.
Like, we're yelling at them for, how could you? Well, they didn't.
They were in on it, right? And
the idea that they thought about it bothers me.
But it's different administration. I also feel like maybe we can move a left shot over.
Another one in addition to Hainsey.
Yeah, maybe you move Hainsey back to the left side and let him play the left side and let him be the third pairing left-handed guy. And you move Dermott over, who's played a lot of righty.
Not a lot, but he did play with the Marlies quite a bit. Yeah, he has had some experience. Right.
So that's like right under the NHL level. And then you've got Jake Gardiner, who is so fast. And if you can put him with Morgan Riley, what's the big And then you've got Zaitsev, or the ghost of Nikita Zaitsev, with Travis Dermott, and then Ron Hainsey and Martin Marincin, Justin Hall. Who cares? Like, they're not playing as much. You're probably going to stack a lot of minutes on those first two guys. But, I mean, if you can get Nikita Zaitsev going again, that doesn't look so bad. Connor Carrick. There's another guy who, I mean, he wouldn't have to switch over, but that's a guy that's a pretty reliable guy, and it seems like Kyle Dubas has really been pushing the Connor Carrick thing in management. They wouldn't have signed him at $1.3 million if they didn't believe in him, right?
Yeah, Carrick's a guy.
They also extended Josh Levo, right?
Well, that was under Lou, though.
That's so strange.
You're right.
And he took his money because he would have had a two-way. But, I mean, that was one of the first things Kyle Dubas did, was re-sign Connor Carrick. Man, I don't know. I wonder if we've gone a little too far on the left-hand, right-hand thing. Does it make that much of a difference? Well, if your right side is so weak, is it going to make that much of a difference?
You're right. We probably make a big deal about it, but we make a big deal about it because the coach makes a big deal about it.
Right, but that's what I mean. I would say to Mike, is this helping you at this point?
Which is strange because, like, the coach always makes a big deal out of the left versus right thing, but over Babcock's career, he's almost never had that. There was the 1 year where there were injuries on Detroit and they had 6 left. And then whenever he has his pick of the litter with Team Canada, he overloads on right. And he's got righties playing on the left. So friggin' ice the 6 best guys, Mike. I'm getting annoyed.
Well, I just think there's going to be, kind of one of the maybe category B storylines is going to be Zaitsev.
Yeah.
Because we're going to find out if that was, if it's a bounce back year or if this is looking like a really bad contract. I think he has a lot to prove. And I also think, his confidence took a hit with the injuries, and then he felt he wasn't playing very well. And I think it got in his head a little bit. Mm-hmm. So, with the summer to clear his mind, and, people aren't talking about him right now because, Game 7, all anyone wanted to talk about was Gardiner. So maybe Zaitsev comes back. But I think him taking a step beyond what he was as a rookie needs to happen.
Do you think he can?
Beyond that?
Or it's going to look like a really bad deal just because of the term they gave him.
Do you think he can do that?
It's possible. I don't know. It's a question mark.
One thing I saw spoken about on Twitter yesterday, I think it was Bobby Cappuccino who brought it up, was a lot of guys who are leaving or who aren't with the Leafs anymore, who were last year, had negative penalty differential. Here's my favorite stat, everybody. I love that stat so much. But two of the guys who are still here who just had terrible seasons in that regard, just took way too many penalties compared to what they drew, were Zaitsev and Carrick. And, Carrick was a -7 in 47 games. There's just no excuse for that. And Zaitsev was a -8 in 60. So on top of the skill level improving, hopefully with Tavares.
And those guys aren't thugs, right? So that means they're out of position.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? So their skill level has gone up. Some guys who take too many penalties, Polak took way too many, but like JVR, I didn't realize he was that bad at that. And it's not like he played a ton at even strength. So with the skill level going up, if they can stay a little bit more disciplined, especially I harp on Carrick more than Zaitsev because Zaitsev went into the lineup confident that he had that spot. Carrick, buddy, keep your stick down if you know Babcock's not going to play you, man. Be extra cautious. And he was taking more than most.
It's that's a tough one.
Yeah, it was a tough one. It's a super tough
go
one.
out but play cautious. Exactly.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You're right. You're right.
And that's not his game. He's not a cautious player.
Hopefully he takes fewer penalties.
Yeah.
The thing I always say about Carrick is he's actually a low-key nasty bastard. And other teams don't even like him.
Yeah, no, and he's objectively better than Roman Polak was.
Yes.
Objectively.
So I'm pretty excited about that.
And he's got the thing that they're looking for back there, which is mobility. Can you are you mobile? It's not that Roman Polak's a bad player, it's just they had better ones.
He is
sort of a bad player.
He's got an excellent shot. I wish he would use it more. He could be again one of those B storylines, like you said.
Do you think Justin Hall makes the team?
I think he has a good I guess it comes down to Hall and Carrick. I think maybe that's the battle since they're both righties and
maybe they platoon in.
And Hall, he's 2 for 2 in NHL games, right?
Yeah. And best points to all
his
time.
confidence is sky high, right? He played a lot of minutes for the Marlies. He was, he carried a lot of the load for that defense, and they won a championship. So it's guys like him and Garrett Sparks, they're all right, I'm ready for the next level. And you know what? It's rare because he's a late bloomer. Is he 26?
26, I think,
yeah.
7.
So what? That happens. Sometimes guys find their game a bit later. And
I like Hall. That's not a Babcock bottom pairing guy. That guy, he's like a rover out there. He just takes the puck for a walk sometimes.
Why don't you put him with Jake Gardner or Travis Dermott?
No, well, now you're putting him up the lineup, right? So,
but if he can do it, Ron Hainsey shouldn't be on.
Well, that's the thing. Someone's got to come down the lineup, right?
Yeah.
And Ron Hainsey's the obvious candidate just because
he's effective, but
37?
You can't do that. 38.
He's 38 now. So this is what I'm super excited for with the whole Dubas thing is the new things they try. Maybe they freak you out with, guess what? Justin Hall's in our top 4. I want to see. It's disappointing to me. It's good that the lineup seems so secure right now because that means they have a lot of talent and they have things figured out. But I want to see some monkey wrenches.
Oh, I think we'll see some things that we're surprised about. Yeah, I'm interested to see the top 6 has already kind of been revealed, or at least what they're going to roll out at the beginning. But I think the bottom 6 will be interesting. I think the D pairings will be interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I know for a fact, the lineup is up to the coach.
I think the bottom
GM
defense
offers his opinion.
No, I just think it's funny that this is where we're at. And you talk about this. Good teams, you start to obsess about the little things.
Yeah.
Oh,
these are not
talking
game
about
breakers.
Brendan Leipzig for 6 months before the expansion draft.
Yeah.
And we're it really sucks to lose him.
And now that's gone to Vancouver, by the way.
Yeah.
I saw there was a poll, who do you want to play left wing on the first line? And most of the answers that I saw were Leipzig.
Why not? They're Vancouver. They
suck.
It.
Why not? Leipzig, let it ride forever.
Now, do you think that they're going to lose Calvin Pickard on waivers? Is that just because it seems like Curtis McElhinney probably wouldn't get claimed, and I know they're shopping Calvin.
Yeah, you'd like to think they get something back for. What'd they pay for him? A 6th?
Pickard, a 6th in Lindbergh.
Yeah, so maybe they want to get back at least
a 5th.
Okay, so now we're on the 4th string goalie, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although I think he's the best fourth string goalie in the NHL.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Like,
He played for Team Canada, right?
Yeah, they got three guys who I think are of relatively similar skill, pretty much. McElhinney maybe the least.
Okay, so here's the one thing I'm interested in. Babcock has always kind of been of the mind McElhinney does his job. He knows his job, which is you're a backup. You're never going to be anything more than a backup. We'll call on you every 6 weeks, and hopefully you get a win 2 out of 3 times, right?
Which he did. Yeah.
But is he thinking, you know what? Maybe I gave Frederik Andersen a few too many starts the way Washington gave Braden Holtby a few too many starts the year before they won the Cup.
And this year.
Do they need a Philip Grubauer, i.e.
Yes.
Garrett Sparks, to push him
30
a little,
games.
Push him a little bit?
Play 30 games.
And Sparks has a good relationship with Dubas. Like you said, it's going to be interesting how Dubas puts his fingerprints on the lineup.
Yeah, like McElhinney, absolutely. He did a fantastic job at his job. I think they should eliminate the position. We are terminating the position of goalie who plays 15 games. And we are now posting the job for goalie who plays 30 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. I think this is kind of a turning point. And then we're also a few years into Freddie's deal. Maybe it's like you should feel secure now, because that was like, it was a transition for him, splitting the crease with Gibson to all of a sudden
every October.
Oh, now it's just me, and they say it's just me, and so I got to get my mind right.
And it's in Toronto.
Yeah,
Big difference, right?
Yeah.
And he handled it well. And
he
through stretches, when he's on, he's one of the best goalies in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he's on.
And imagine going from playing behind Anaheim's defense, which is one of the deepest in the whole league, to playing behind the Toronto defense when he first arrived here, especially. Like, that's got to be a rude awakening, and something we don't always talk about when we talk about goalies is who they're playing behind. And he covered up a lot of mistakes.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. I'm going to switch gears completely off the Leafs for a second.
Why?
Are you okay?
You know, that reminds me of Morgan Riley. Sorry.
Because we're beating all these topics to death because we haven't, because we have to, but also because there isn't really much else to talk about. And that's why I saved the Leaf stuff till a little later in the show, because thankfully Tyler Seguin talked to you today and not tomorrow. Yeah. Because then we would have been like, damn it, now all the good stuff broke after the show was recorded. But Rick Westhead, who has Steve blocked on Twitter, we still don't know why.
Oh, really?
I don't know why, man. I don't know what I did.
I can't imagine that Rick Westhead said or did anything that would have made you say or do anything to deserve the blocking.
I'm the Leaf yelling guy. I think it's entirely possible I came across his timeline too many times and he was like, I hate this guy's face. And he just blocked me.
I don't know. He doesn't seem like a hateful guy. But anyway, Rick Westhead has Steve blocked, so Steve didn't see this.
I had to text people who then told me, and then were like, why are you blocked?
Like, that's got to be rare. Like, you got Rick Westhead to block.
He's probably got
it's not like there
max a dozen people.
It's not Steve Simmons. It's, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't go at Steve Simmons for something and he blocked you. Actually, he probably wouldn't. He probably like just
I think he still follows me.
For sure.
As he should.
So what Rick Westhead said was this: an OHL team employee tells me some players have been advised to scrub Fortnite references from social media accounts. Some NHL teams consider these video games a major distraction/obsession.
Yeah, it's big in the Leafs room, isn't it, Steve?
It's big in every room, man. No, they
big in my
love
room.
Fortnite. The Leafs. Don't they have, or no, I was about to say they have commercials on their YouTube channel of them playing Fortnite. It's not Fortnite, it's NHL 18.
Oh, okay.
Which, that video game is fine. That does not have any addictive properties.
No.
It is this particular video game. Wait until NHL teams find out there's not just one video game.
It is the most popular and addictive game currently.
Currently,
Yeah.
But like Call of
But
Duty
there'll be
5 years ago.
There's another one coming.
Yeah, for sure. Is it the old guys going, we're old and we're worried? Because like old guys
we
tend
don't,
to do
and
that.
we don't understand.
understand.
We don't understand, right?
Like they probably saw the David
let's just
Price
block
story
it.
and we're like, oh, he got carpal tunnel.
And it's hockey being very image conscious. And there was that story or rumor in the summer about one prospect, unnamed prospect that came out, had an addiction, and they're probably just like, we don't want any part of people speculate. Like, the hockey higher ups kind of just think worst case scenario and damage control, and so they're probably just like, guys, play your video games, but don't gab about it so all the fans and media know that you're obsessed with video games. That said, I remember talking to Marner in Boston after the morning skate of Game 7, and it's like, what are you going to do? Like, you got to be nervous. Like, how are you going to kill your time? He's like, I think I'll watch Fortnite videos on my phone. Like that's
Not
just
play Fortnite.
No, he didn't say
watch
play. Right.
Fortnite videos.
That's or he could have said practice the Fortnite dances in my room. I don't know, but it's like
if there's anybody in the Leafs that can do
it's.
Oh yeah,
but by the same token, it's a communal game, so a lot of guys are using it as a form of team bonding.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That's how I keep in touch with several of my buddies. I never see them. We play Fortnite.
Yeah, and the other thing is they kind of need to get their mind off the game and have some other interest. But you're right. There is the odd case that gets addicted to video games, but there's people get addicted to other things in any walk of life.
Yeah, and all those guys who are now the higher ups in hockey, what were you doing during the 80s on your days off?
Oh, yeah.
Reading.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Reading the back of a bottle. Yeah.
Moxie's with my brother.
Reading Cocaine for Dummies.
Yeah.
I think is what they were reading.
Yeah. And it's like,
Sorry, did I say that? Did you say that? I don't know.
I mean, but seriously,
that's the
are we going to
point.
pretend that they weren't doing mountains of cocaine?
Now the players, they just want to play video games.
Yeah.
And just think about your life back in the day when you're just on the road and there's no social media or cell phones and you're just free.
It seems like just image control. Like
So that's all it is. It's not like they're actually concerned.
So read guy who blocked me's tweet again. Like exactly how did he word it? Because I had a bit of a different take once I actually read it.
An OHL team employee tells me some players have been advised to scrub Fortnite references from social media accounts. Some NHL teams consider the video game a major distraction / obsession.
So it's they're image conscious, right? Like OHL players. Like this is big for them.
Why aren't they CTE
you don't
conscious?
have a job yet. You want to get drafted.
Exactly.
It's different than NHL players.
You don't
right?
have a job. I've told the story before, but I interviewed a prospect before their draft. This was many years ago. And they told me about something went awry at like a prom party they went to. Like the story wasn't about like, oh, they got so wasted. It was like someone basically they paid all this money for a keg and this guy just took off with the money or whatever. He was just, telling a weird story. As soon as we're done recording, he goes, can I record that again? Can I say that differently? I go, yeah, okay, fine. He records it differently, does it again. About a half hour after I leave the arena, he calls me up. He's like, I talked to my parents and like, could you not use that? Could you take that out? You'd be doing me a huge favor. And what did he do? He went to a party after prom. But he was worried NHL teams would judge him for being
which they probably
17
would.
or whatever.
Well, it's like risk reward, right? Like what benefit is there to, posting that you're playing a lot of Fortnite? There's no benefit to that. So they're probably just like, just don't do it.
Well, it's why have it? Like, why have any social media for any other reason other than go, hey, great season with the Leafs. Thanks so much to the fans. Like, because look what happened. Who's the pitcher in the MLB who was like straight up during the All-Star game? He's pitching, and people dig up a bunch of his racist tweets, and he you know what I mean? And then JD Martinez had that a couple he was like quoting Hitler on his Instagram from like 2012 and like anti-Barack Obama. It wasn't really even that bad.
Whoa, I must have missed this.
No, it wasn't pro-Hitler. It was just something about the Second Amendment or something like that. Like he's pro-gun.
That's a pretty big difference, man.
Well, he did quote Hitler.
Oh, okay. Well, you didn't.
But he wasn't pro-Hitler.
It was Josh Hader, by the way.
Josh Hader.
Okay.
He's a hater. But no, it wasn't pro-Hitler. He quoted Hitler is what I said.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Anyway.
I misunderstood you.
Anyway.
I think we're a little off track.
The point I'm trying to make is like,
was there a point?
Your social media should really just be like, hey, it sure was great to do this charitable event. Hey, sure is great to be back at training camp. Hey, sure is great to be a hockey player.
It's too bad.
I am Groot.
Yeah,
I think it
sucks.
slowly changing, I hope, with hockey. Like, hockey's so conservative about that stuff. And it's...
I wonder how much of that is the Lou Lamoriello effect. Like when Lou finally retires or dies, I'm not sure what comes first. Let's be honest. No, I'm serious. What happens first? Lou retires or dies? When that goes away, how much of that Lou effect, I feel like that's actually had an effect on the league. Like, I think he is that influential. That's a guy who can get away with blatant tampering, which he did with John Tavares this year.
See, I don't know if that's Lou. I think he's been in the business long enough to know that humans are human. And even though he's a hard ass, he'd probably prefer that you didn't talk about the video games. I think it's probably other guys who think they're a little bit more clever than they are. You know what I mean? I couldn't tell you who it is, couldn't tell you examples.
I just think that there's that conservative element that's...
it's definitely that element.
Yeah. So I wonder if, rightfully so, they're taking cues from that guy. He's pretty successful.
I think it all goes back to, sort of what you said, like OHL players, they don't have a job yet. If you're an NHL player and you maybe screw up a contract, because you talked about something, whatever, at least you got your signing bonus, you made your money, you played in the show for a few years. OHL players, man, if you don't make it to pro because you had a couple dumb tweets about Fortnite or whatever, I hope you studied.
Yeah. It's not the way it should be. Like, you shouldn't be punished for a tweet about Fortnite, obviously, but... I think it's that.
This is where we're at. Like the NBA is tweeting, they're tweeting at each other and talking about trash talking each other online. And the NHL is like, please don't mention Fortnite. Yeah. Which is what we wonder why the league has an image problem.
Counterpoint: tweet about Fortnite so dumb teams don't draft you.
Yeah, there's a good idea.
Wait, you mean all of them?
Oh, well, and then that's the rub, Jesse. What if it is all of them? Well, if it's like 6 of them, tweet about Fortnite. It might be all 31, though. You're right.
Martin Brodeur has left the St. Louis Blues for other opportunities.
So when does he sign with the Devils?
Oh, he is. He's going to the Devils.
Oh, there you go.
That's what I heard.
Is that a thing?
No, I don't think that's official.
Oh, that's not official. Okay.
I think it's just we all accept it as truth.
Sorry,
I thought maybe the Islanders were also another theory.
Oh, for Martin Brodeur. Oh, under Lamorello.
From Andy Strickland, Martin Brodeur told me several weeks ago that he will keep his family in St. Louis as he takes on a new role with the New Jersey Devils.
Oh, it's done.
Role with New Jersey will be more focused on the business side than the hockey side. So he'll be an ambassador for the team, which makes a lot of sense, right?
What was so weird is when I think the Blues held his retirement conference and maybe retired his number. They were the ones that announced his retirement.
Yeah.
If the Flames did such a good job with Iggy.
Yeah, that was
a
weird.
year after the fact.
Yeah.
I wonder if New Jersey's Ray Shero's probably going, we should write this. We should figure this out.
Yeah.
It's just such a weird way to
I wonder what happened. Wasn't that not Lou as well? Was Lou not there at that point? Or was he with the Leafs? I wonder what happened.
I think that was one of his last things, actually, with the Devils. It was so unfortunate, I made this video a while back about records by players who spent their entire career with one team. And what's interesting is once you get traded or ask for a trade or whatever, you remove yourself from that list. So Brodeur was far and away the wins leader. And then he got traded and the guys, I was about to say, who I think is top 5 is Marc-Andre Fleury. No, not anymore. He's on Vegas. Yep. So I want to say the active leader is Henrik Lundqvist. And the all-time leading scorer or something for guys who stayed with one team is I want to say it's Yzerman? Or no, Lemieux. Or which one of them has more points? It's one of those two. I don't know. It's one of those. This is what I think of in August, guys. This is one of those things I think of in August.
It's a good list.
Yeah. It's interesting. You should actually do an article on that. Have you done that?
Yeah, I just
did the video.
Oh, you did the video?
Yeah.
You just said that? Okay, so I was trying to dig up more Martin Brodeur information as you were.
I don't blame you for not listening to me because it wasn't interesting.
Anyway, no, I was trying to see if there was more on Martin Brodeur. There isn't. So Andy Strickland with the scoop on that one. But did you see this story? Russian billionaire promised his biggest hockey arena in the world.
Of course he did.
No, I didn't.
Now, tell me if this is too big.
Yes.
Doesn't Ottawa have the most seats? Who's got the most seats? I thought
they have
Ottawa
the
had
most seats blacked out.
Yeah, they do.
How dare you, sir?
Wasn't it 18,700 or something? Don't they have the biggest?
I want to say the Bell Center for some reason.
Let's see.
Don't they have? Aren't there a couple arenas in the NHL that have over 20? It's not Scotiabank Arena.
No,
they're the most expensive.
Bell Center 21,000.
Wow,
that's a lot. It doesn't even feel like that when you're there.
I mean, I've never looked around the stands and gone, there must be 2,000 extra people here.
Yeah,
just go with that.
The Bell Center, you feel like you're there, like it's alive. Even though Montreal sucks right now,
loud. The air vibrates.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Now this billionaire says the SKA St. Petersburg. He's the president of SKA St. Petersburg. He says that the new arena will be 22.5.
Of course, because they need to
that just a little bit more.
Just want to have
just 1,000 more.
That claim.
Is that too big? Is there a size that it's okay? Now we're too big. Now it's too much.
Well, last year, okay,
to
so
see Pavel Datsuk's last days, though.
Yeah. And plus, you could easily fill your arena with healthy scratches, because last year SK St. Petersburg had like 2 teams. that was the big issue with Ozhiganov, I think, and
they didn't play.
They were like the first place team in the league by far, and then they added Vadim Shipachyov, who was one of their best players the year before, and it was absolutely ridiculous. But St. Petersburg, I think, is one of those teams that can afford to do this because they can afford to do anything because they're owned by Gazprom, gas company over in Russia.
Well, it's only going to cost them $295 million somehow. That's
in
weird.
what currency?
It's a 20 billion rubles. It's 295 million.
That just sounds so silly when you say that. How many rubles?
20 billion rubles.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
Now, if I said 20 billion, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, that's the biggest arena in the world, I guess, whatever. But like, when you consider that, how much did Vegas pay for theirs? Wasn't it like a huge number?
Yeah, but the thing about Vegas' arena is it's in Las Vegas. You know, this is in St. Petersburg, Russia, and I feel like there might be different circumstances that make it slightly cheaper.
Oh, as in like what they pay people?
It's also not that big. You're building a regular arena and just putting more seats
Biggest in the world, Jesse.
Like, it's just it's the ACC, except you just put more seats in. You squeeze it in somewhere in the corner. It's not really the biggest at anything.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a cartoony billionaire, you just go, biggest. I want the biggest.
It's best.
Yeah, make biggest. And they go, okay. And then they make biggest, and now you bet.
Why? You know what? If they can afford to have 2 teams, they might as well just like tag team it like they do in F1 and have SKA 1 and 2, and so they have 2 playing in their current arena and 1 playing in this new bigger arena.
Why not?
And they can just tag team the league together.
And one's in the Western Conference and one's in the Eastern Conference.
That's right.
It's the KHL. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Wasn't there someone posted something on our Reddit page about like. Oh, one of the teams, Avangard Omsk or something. They're one of the teams in the Siberia region. Their arena, like there's a critical problem with the foundation, so they can't play there. So they're going to play somewhere just outside of Moscow. Which, how is that going to work? Because Moscow is a Western Conference city and Avangard Omsk is in the Eastern Conference. Just nothing matters there. Like they bring up new teams and teams fold all the time. It's very difficult to pay attention to. The league that I covered in 2013 looks nothing like the league that it is 5 years later. The makeup of it.
Well, except for the fact that the same team is still winning.
Except for the fact that the same team, it's 4 teams. Like it just doesn't matter. No, but it's rigged, remember.
Oh,
remember that whole thing.
I saw that theory.
Yep. It's rigged. They lose. They lost to prove it's not rigged. I said it. Things don't matter there. I didn't say it's rigged. I mean, there's a difference between. They probably tried to rig it and didn't do it right. Like I just don't have faith in that league.
And maybe faith in some of those tweets.
And that as well. No, I'm just throwing shade.
Should we do the press conference?
Oh, yeah, I think we should.
Let's do it.
One question.
Press conference?
Yeah, that's what
what's
period at the end.
It's from our
we
Reddit
filled
page.
you in on nothing before the show.
Yeah.
He sits down. He's like, "So how long is this?" I'm like, like 2 hours."
And he's like, "Really? What? No."
Luke, you can go first. Who's the first coach to get fired this season?
Great question.
Coming up.
Yeah.
Oh.
And no coach was fired this past season too.
Yeah.
During the season, yeah.
During the no, wasn't it like the day before the season ended? Who lost a job? It happened on the second last day of the regular season.
Oh yeah.
I forget.
Yeah,
You're right, though.
They didn't set the record or whatever they're trying to do. Because this coach.
I'll try to look it up.
Who do you think is going to be the first?
So a team that's basically has expectations to contend, but is going to stumble. Let's go with Joel Quenneville.
Oh,
Very
wow!
interesting.
I know that's a big name.
If I'm an okay team, I fire my coach and hire Joel Quenneville on the spot.
Yeah, I think he's a great coach. I just think there's always tension there, right? And whenever there's been some assistants fired from underneath a guy, I think that's a sign he's on rocky ground. Todd McClellan also falls under that category. Although I think Connor will put on a cape and make them a little bit relevant for the first couple months.
What about Ottawa's head coach, whose name escapes me right now?
But
it's not. It won't be his fault.
Guy Boucher.
Will not be his fault. If I'm a team that needs help on defense, I hire Guy Boucher right away. But I mean, it will not be his fault, but it might just be like, here, distraction, shiny thing.
Was it Karlsson? Who got fired?
Karlsson.
Alan Vigneault was fired on the second last day of the
Why?
But
Rangers.
It was the last Rangers had finished their season though, right?
But do we count it if the regular season wasn't over?
Their season was over.
I think their season's over. I think it's
over.
done.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Did he get picked up?
Vigneault?
Yeah.
Isn't he?
That's stupid.
I don't know.
He'll be the first guy picked up. That's another guy I fire everyone for. If I'm Edmonton, that's a guy I pick up.
His record of making the playoffs is ridiculous.
Insane.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. If the Oilers aren't above 500 by like American Thanksgiving, you're gone.
Well, because if you're Chiarelli, you're probably thinking it's him or me.
Yep.
Now, does he have the power to fire the coach? That's another question.
So speaking of places where things don't matter, like I just don't understand the power structure at Edmonton, man.
Yeah, I know.
I don't understand
how many ex-players from the 80s can we get?
Oh, and they just jammed Paul Coffey in there, didn't they? And what's his role? I don't know. I
think they can brew coffee into the mix.
How dare you?
I'm embarrassed.
You know what?
It's the French press conference.
He joins the Montreal Canadiens.
Good of you to blend that one in there.
There he is, brew.
I try. It's blend. You see? Oh, Jesse, don't roast me.
There we go.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
I got nothing. Don't look at me. I got nothing.
And just as we start talking about team executives, I realized we didn't talk about all the Leafs moves. Because I think it happened right after.
Yeah.
It happened right after our last show. So it's been a week. So
that's true. We haven't. I thought we
forgot.
haven't. I guess I have on the radio, so I feel like I've talked about it. But yeah.
Yeah, you've been talking about it. I did a video on it. It was a week ago. I don't know. Do we bother?
No, we definitely bother.
We should bother, but it is sort of old news. This is the problem with one show.
2 thumbs up for Hayley Wickenheiser.
2 thumbs up for Hayley Wickenheiser.
Yeah. I'm just looking for something here before we move from Hayley Wickenheiser.
Sure.
What do you? I mean, we thought this was coming, right? She was sort of already a part of it.
She was part of camp.
So I was there the first day of rookie camp, and she walked by me in full gear, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of strange."
Oh,
and
you didn't know?
I didn't know she'd been invited because I was there the first day, and then she walked out, and then it was like,
"You're not a rookie."
Yeah, you doing here? I guess Hayley Wickenheiser's here.
This is kind of cool. And then she was, and then they said, it was Dubas's idea, and I guess the year prior she had done the same thing in Edmonton, and it's kind of like, okay, so she did it with a couple teams, but the Leafs, obviously, were impressed by her and went for it. The interesting thing is she's doing medical school at West, I think in Calgary, around there at the same time. She's a superstar.
From Navin Vaswani, who is the managing editor at The Score, the Toronto Maple Leafs and how they hired a name, the other name that we got as a scout when those hires were announced, because obviously there were some promotions, that sort of thing. Noelle Needham, and nobody really heard of her, at least in our circle. And the most interesting part about this is how they hired her. So I'm going to read this out to you directly, and it says, as the organization sought to add bodies to its scouting department, Dubas introduced an extra layer to the hiring process. candidates filled out scouting reports to an online system that masked their identity. This anonymity gave Dubas and his advisors the latitude to sift through the reports and flag the most qualified candidates without being influenced by things like gender, appearance, ethnicity, and age. Among the top scorers was Noelle Needham, and I don't know if it's Noelle or Noel, so I think
it's Noelle.
It's Noelle Needham. Yeah. Former Minnesota State University women's hockey player who'd never held an official scouting position in the professional or junior ranks. The report she filed anonymously elevated her status and ultimately helped her earn a gig with the Leafs, which is pretty cool.
Pretty cool, man.
This is awesome. This is the kind of stuff that I think, is so great about Kyle Dubas. The fact that he's not thinking like the old boys network. And another example is he went to Masai Ujiri before pitching Tavares. Like just kind of like, we don't have to just think hockey. We don't have to think.
How would you do this?
Men in our office. We can think.
Well, it was Masai that said, hire women.
Yeah.
Hire women. Mm-hmm. If I can give you any advice, it's hire women.
Yeah.
And what gets me about this is, we went from, and I'm sure you remember this, Luke, having covered the team very closely, with in the Nonis era, and also in the Burke era too, let's just be straight, it seemed like you had a guy, and then he had his guys, and they all agreed on stuff.
Yeah.
And there was no tension. And one thing that I loved about when Lou came in, when Mike Babcock came in, when Kyle Dubas came in before, when Mark Hunter came in, they acknowledged that there was going to be tension. They acknowledged that there was going to be spirited debate.
Yeah. And if you said that too.
No, but these guys, they weren't tight. Like,
no.
Dubas didn't have a relationship with Babcock or Lou prior to Shanahan bringing them all under one roof, right?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's still an element of, people like their guys. Like Dubas has Wes Clark and Victor Carnero. There's this great video from the Sioux Greyhounds, I think 2014, because I was like, I could have swore Victor Carnero was in a video with Dubas. Click on the video. It's Dubas going, well, myself, Wes Clark, and Victor Carnero. I'm like, wow, okay, 5 seconds into the video, there's like a bunch of the Leafs front office right there. I mean, Carnero's not in the front office, he's a scout, but you know what I mean. He brought in some of his guys, but that little snippet there is a good sign that he's not just doing that. I think it's okay to bring in people you're familiar with, as long as you're looking outside of your circle and yourself as well.
Well, yeah, and you're going to have some degree of people that you're familiar with. But Ashley Docking made a really good point when we were talking about it yesterday on The Fan, and I'm going to do her a disservice by paraphrasing her. But what she said was, no matter what you do in life, you're going to have biases, right? You're going to have things that you gravitate to. She said if you were looking for someone who is bilingual, and she used she's like, and somebody with the name Juliette popped up on your resume, you're going to automatically assume that person's really good at French, even though there could be Juliette who dropped French in grade 9, right? Like it's you don't know.
The Habs are trading for Tyler Seguin right now.
Well, anyway,
here we go.
I think it's kind of a cool way to do it, and I wonder what else he's got cooked up that we haven't heard of yet.
Yeah, no, I think it's exciting times. And I've talked to a number of the players over the summer about the switch. What do you think? Lou leaving and Kyle stepping in. And usually, if you ask players about stuff that happens at the management level, they just give a cliche answer. Oh yeah, he's a good guy, and we'll do our best. Or they even say like it doesn't really affect me. Every guy got excited, and like I know he's had one-on-ones. Like Morgan Riley told me that when he was in town for Kadri's wedding, Dubas made a point to meet with him one-on-one and explain his plan. Like he's very communicative. And Morgan Riley doesn't need a contract or anything, right? It's just like he's a bit more, if there's such a thing as a player's GM, I think Toronto has got one now.
Not just communicative, but like involved in the community as well.
And feel like you're part of the vision and not just what my own contract situation is, but where this whole team's going.
Yeah. Like Lou, I mean, he's a very old man. He's like 77 or whatever. So I don't expect him to be out at every event and whatever. But the only thing I ever heard about him outside of his GM duties is he had like a car dealership commercial on the radio. Like that's the only thing I heard about him. But I already know about stuff Dubas has in the works that I'm contractually signed to not talk about. But it's going to be coming in about a month. Dubas wants to be involved with Toronto, not just the Leafs.
Okay.
What do you think he does? And this is a press conference question for me. How do you think he handles the Levo situation?
Yeah, that'll be interesting because he's not. I don't think he's going to tell Babcock who to play.
Pretty hard to do that.
I think he has suggestions.
Well, yeah. I mean, the suggestions are made by the moves, right?
Do you think it's that hands off? Or I guess that.
I think there's conversations all the time.
Yeah,
but if you think, I'd be shocked if Dubas went into Babcock's office and said, "I'd like you to play Levo," and Babcock said, "Okay." I think Levo's kind of like, in a battle for a fourth line spot, and unless he wows, then he might be where he was most of the time.
Now, do they keep him in that position or they trade him?
What's his trade
for
value?
What? Yeah.
Oh, player to be named later.
There's basically three guys where you could say, the Leafs should trade. Yeah, for what? Peckard, what are you going to get? McElhinney, what are you going to get? Levo, what are you going to get?
And that's why
he's of more use to you in case of injury than he is for a seventh rounder in 2021. Or I think there was a point in time where he held some real value, but he hasn't played enough that I don't think GMs are like, I wonder what I'd have to give off my roster for Josh Levo right now.
I'll trade you a 6-rounder for the mystery box.
If they do go for a big move, maybe he's part of the package. But
yeah, well, it'd be interesting too if they won the cup. Josh Levo's name would be on it, and I think then that all the trials and tribulations of the last few years would probably be worth it at that point, right? Like if you get your name on it, you get a ring.
Why would it be on the cup? Don't you have to play 42 games?
Yes, he went there.
When's he playing 42 games?
Or one in the final.
Yeah, right? Or one in the final.
Barely made it to 42 games.
Yeah.
I
don't think it's on the cup.
Levo doesn't have 42 games over the past 2 or 3 seasons. I don't think it's happening. Man.
What about
what if he just
scores 20 goals?
No, but what if he just dominates in relative comparison to whoever, Ennis or someone else for
which he could.
Yeah. And then he takes he wins the job outright.
Just dominate for 42 games, okay, Josh? That is your job. That is your job. And then you're a free agent, you can go and you can do what you want. But get your name on there, man. That's all. I want that for him.
Question for me. What do you... Okay, so I'm going to flatter you right now. I look forward to your stuff probably the most out of almost anyone in hockey. I just think you really get it, and your stuff is great. It's what I read the most regularly. So
Thanks,
because
Steve.
I'm looking forward to you, what are you looking forward to the most from this hockey season?
Oh. I think the Tavares stuff. I think the fact that the Leafs are going to be fun to watch, and I get to go see the games live.
Bastard!
I saw the games live when they were trying to be bad on purpose, and it's it's. I'm not complaining, but there were some where you just know they're phoning it in, and the players don't really want to talk to you because what are they going to say? Yeah, we're bad, and it was just like a tense situation because that was the point where they were getting guys and then selling them off on purpose, and no one was ever relaxed. But there's a real palpable excitement among the players and in the city, and I've never really sensed it this early. And I also think there's
July 1st.
yeah. And then, also the fact that it's go time. There's no more free passes. Like if they bow out of the first round again, that's going to make for a great story too. I root for good stories.
Oh boy.
Jesse does too.
Tavares leading the Leafs out of the doldrums is a great story, but oh my goodness, we're going into the 2019-20 season and Babcock hasn't got this roster of magicians out of the first round. That's also a good story.
I hate that story. I don't know if it's a good story.
No, but
I agree that it's a story.
It's a juicy story.
Yeah. I
don't,
Putting that evil on. I'm going to remember this conversation in the 7th game of the first round against Boston this year, okay?
Side note, I've started soundproofing my room in the basement, so if they're bad, I'll be prepared.
I'm calling you.
Well, people are
calling you.
People are going to overreact to that first week.
What? Yeah.
And that first game, remember the first game against Winnipeg where they just dominated.
They just clobbered
them.
That's lost Steve Mason his job.
Yeah.
That's the reason Steve Mason's no longer working.
It was 3-0 after the first.
Yeah.
They just murdered them.
Yeah. So either that happens,
and I thought the Jets were going to suck,
or they get shut out or something, and then it's like, oh, this didn't work. You know, we needed JVR's hands in the crease, like.
The first tweet about we need Bozak back.
When will we get? Yeah, maybe JVR was worth.
Oh my God!
Look at his offensive zone starts last year. Unstoppable 5-on-5.
Listen to the fan on the first night they lose.
Ooh. Oh, the callers! Yeah. Oh my God! Yes. And I can feel Gord Stellick and Todd Wolishko's eyes rolling from here. Yeah. Just like the post game show going, yes.
I want to hear that. Yeah. Gord just goes, and now we're going to the phones. And
they don't pay me enough for this. It's like I don't know if you ever listened to Jay's post game or any. I think it's any bad team's post game, but like
literally.
But Mike Wilner just having to be in the past few years, he's so good at shutting down callers. Now he's got to be a little more political these days, but he's so good at going, no, you're wrong. Yeah. See you later.
He knows 1,000 stats, but doesn't know the word polite. Like, just get off my phone line, you idiot.
But he is polite. When you meet Mike in person, he's great. It's just you can tell. Like, how could it not affect you a little bit, right?
They shouldn't make him be nice to callers. I want old school Wilner. I want I might be the play-by-play guy, Wilner back. Just call everyone stupid.
Yeah.
I love it.
Luke, it's been a real pleasure. I'm going to ask you one more question.
Okay.
One more question.
All right.
What is and we asked Chris Johnson this, and he's coming back on the show just to answer this question. And I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But
what he needs time. He needs
time. What's your crazy thing that you think is going to happen this year? Your crazy hot take that you, in your bones, you go, this is going to happen. It doesn't have to be about the Leafs, but it can be NHL related. I think this is going to happen. No one expects it. Like Mike Augello, Mike in Buffalo, came on the show last year and said, Hawks. Oh no, was it Gus or Mike?
It was Gus Katsaros.
Gus Katsaros came on and said Hawks are not going to make the playoffs, and we're like, whoa,
and he nailed it.
And then they didn't.
We need
okay.
Last year,
a year ago.
I want a scorcher, heat, Scoville, Caliente. Let's go.
PK Subban is traded again.
There we go. That was a great one. That might happen. That might actually happen. I wouldn't be stunned.
There's already whispers. Don't start piggybacking on this.
I know a team that could use
agrees with me. No, I'm glad Luke agrees with me. Welcome on board, Luke.
I know a team that has his brother that could use him.
But enough about Vegas.
All right, hey, thanks so much, Luke. Really appreciate it. Follow him on Twitter at Luke Fox Jukebox. Look for his quick shifts. Call him on sportsnet.ca along with a billion other stories. You never stop. You find NHL stories in the middle of the summer. That is hard work. It's amazing. Thanks for making time for us, buddy.
Thanks for having me, guys. This was a lot of fun.
Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. The Steve Dangle Podcast. Brought to you by Panago Pizza. Order at panago.com and stuff your face with deliciousness.